If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.
Welcome. Happy Friday. It is Nazzy from the Pulse of New Hampshire, and joining me, as always, for our Concord Co-op Community Connections, it is Mr. Greg Lessard. How are you today, Greg?
Oh, splendid. We're still have some dry weather out there, but for our extended weekend, we're going to get a little rain. But I'm anxious to hear a little bit more from our guest today. That should make for a nice start of my Friday.
Absolutely. And we've got Aaron from Catch. How are you today, Aaron?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. And Kyle from Families and Transitions. What's going on, Kyle?
Not too much. Really glad to be here. This is a fun time.
Yeah, it really is. And what we're talking about today is something that's very, very important. And I'm just so happy that the Concord Food Co-op does this. It's Rounded Up at the Register. So, Greg, talk a little bit about what Rounded Up is and actually where it came from, if you could.
Rounded Up at the Register, we initiated the program a year and a half ago, April, so not quite a year and a half ago. And actually the second recipient of the Rounded Up at the Register program was Catch, going back to April, I think it was 2019. And so every time an individual comes to the register, they're given the option to just round up to the nearest dollar. And in that, so it doesn't sound like that would be much, 10 cents, 5 cents, 40 cents, whatever it happens to be. But in that time, to date, $82,000 has been raised for local nonprofits. So, and we have on today, this month's recipient of Rounded Up at the Register is Families in Transition, and next month's recipient is Catch. So that's why I've asked them both to be here today. There's still an opportunity to run down to the co-op and get your hot dogs and whatever else you're going to be barbecuing and say, yes, round it up for Families in Transition. And you have all of next month to round it up for Catch. So come on into the co-op, and if the customer service individual forgets to ask you, say round it up. You'd love to round up for these great organizations.
That's a great idea. So Kyle, let's start with you. And Greg just explained how it works and how simple it is, and that's basically what I do every time I go in there. So Greg, when I'm buying my smart chicken, I do round it up because I know that the money's going to help out. Talk about where that money goes with the Families in Transition program and how much it impacts what you do.
Absolutely. No, I love this concept, and I was really glad to hear from Greg when he reached out to let us know. We do this same sort of thing over at our thrift store. So we run the Outfitters thrift store. So we do a little bit of that to educate customers at our store about where their donations go. The clothing donations and things like that the proceeds go to support all of our programs. And so our mission to prevent and break the cycle of homelessness comes in four larger components of our programming. So like Catch, really focused on the housing side of things. Families in Transition has a rich history in providing affordable housing and transitional housing to those members of our community who are, below the poverty line or who are chronically homeless. We have around, I think, over 200, almost 240 housing units throughout the state. And then we also have the sort of emergency homelessness services that we provide through our adult emergency shelter here in Manchester, formerly known as New Horizons. And then we have a family shelter in Manchester as well as one in Wolfboro. So we're sort of spread around the state. We have another location in our housing properties in Dover. And then the other core components that we found, we sort of build services around these things, right? Because, the housing and the shelter we found the people need more supportive services to help them along. So things like our food pantry and food services and dining services. And then we also operate the Willows Treatment Center here because addiction can play a big role in substance use disorders, and things like that can play a big role in whether it's, causing some of these challenges or is a byproduct of some of these challenges. So just building that comprehensive service structure to make sure that these folks have everything that they need and they can be successful in their journey.
Right now, and Aaron, you were just nodding along to everything Kyle said. Is there something you want to add or compliment with? Because I know your organizations work hand in hand. Is there something you want to add to something Kyle just said?
Yeah, certainly tell us what Catch is all about and where you're providing housing, et cetera.
Yeah, so one thing I really related to that Kyle said is Catch is a developer of housing as well. We have about 349 units with more currently being constructed. As I'm sure you all know, there's a major housing crisis throughout our state and our country. But one thing I really related to with Kyle saying, not everyone falls into this category, but a lot of our residents sometimes need a little bit of extra help to find resources in the community, whether that's housing support, mental health services, that sort of thing. So we've really been focusing on our resident services program. A couple years ago, we started a food pantry at one of our properties. So really those supportive services and making sure that our staff are available for connecting residents to those services has been a real highlight of our work in the last couple of years.
It's really good.
And it's again, there's a tremendous housing shortage, housing of all price levels. But are you finding, especially with the COVID, that there is more demand for your for available units, especially since you're more of the workforce housing, affordable housing, lower income housing? Are you finding there's increased demand as a result of individuals being out of work, et cetera?
Yeah, let's start with Aaron on that one. We'll ask Aaron, then we'll ask Kyle the same question.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly have seen an uptick in people asking questions. People, unfortunately, who are don't qualify for our housing. They don't actually make enough to qualify for our housing. Right now, we're currently under construction up in Pennacook to build 42 apartments. And while we may be months away from those apartments being ready, we've already had people asking. Very much eager to have an apartment up there. So definitely seeing a very high demand for housing right now.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I think this one is tough for us because we always have a waiting list. We've always had a waiting list pre-pandemic. So, I think to Aaron's point, we may be finding some folks who have never been in this situation before that are reaching out to us, but it's hard to say in some respects because the demand here, especially in Manchester, has always been pretty high, and our waiting lists, have always been there. So it's a tough thing to see. I will say that obviously over the winter, on the emergency sheltering side of things for individuals, we definitely saw the pandemic have a lot of impact on those, as you may or may not have seen in the news over the course of the last year. So that's definitely where we've seen the biggest uptick.
So let me ask you this, but putting a little bit into perspective, and I don't know if you have the information in front of you, but give us the numbers pre-COVID compared to the numbers now. People looking for housing, people looking for help. Because obviously the numbers are higher, but how high? Where are they? Do either one of you do you guys have those numbers? Aaron, do you have that number? Or Kyle, do you know how much bigger the numbers are?
I don't have any exact numbers. I do know that last time we surveyed our housing intake team, that our family shelter had over 40 families that were either living in a car or living in some sort of unsuitable living arrangement or couch surfing, waiting for something to open up. So, that's kind of the nature of that location there. The individual numbers have fluctuated throughout the course of the last 6 months. The winter, obviously, the demand goes up because cold weather, people want to get inside. We ran a couple additional shelters throughout the winter months to support that in collaboration with the city of Manchester. And then the winter weather and the warmer weather comes, and individuals may choose for whatever reason to sleep outside or find other arrangements. So we're here for them when they choose otherwise, or if they choose otherwise. But
they want to come inside. Aaron, same question for you. You may not have the numbers there, but are they much higher, a little higher?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head either. I can tell you there is a huge demand for 1-bedroom apartments, and those seem to go the fastest for us for some reason. So I know there's waiting lists on just about all of our properties for a 1-bedroom apartment right now.
Yeah.
So another question I have is, it's always been difficult to build affordable housing. And in the environment we're in right now, the cost of materials, the cost of labor, the scarcity of both of those, how is that impacting your organization and your ability to deliver affordable housing units? We'll start with Kyle on that one.
I can jump in on that because we have one project here in Manchester that that's part of our sort of 2-year plan here that is adding 11 units. It's formerly, for those that are familiar with Manchester, there's Angie's Place used to be a women's shelter that was run here.
Yep.
And that building has been scheduled to be turned into 11 permanent affordable units. And we had a budget that we had to go back and work with funders to get an additional couple $100,000 to support some of the increase in building costs. So it's definitely affecting us, timelines, availability, and things like that as well. So we're seeing that construction costs impact the project for sure.
And Aaron, same question?
Yeah, I would absolutely echo that. And in addition to raising prices on things like lumber and things like that, I would also add that we've really seen a direct impact on the labor shortages. We're struggling to find people who can frame a building, for example, or something like that. So that has a direct impact on how long it will take us to build something, as well as how soon a family can move into an apartment. So we're seeing that side of things too.
So I wanted to circle back to the rounded up that we have at the co-op. Let's break it down by numbers. So what did you say so far, Greg? It was how much?
82,000.
All right. How much would it cost to help one family? Let's break it down so we can put kind of a face to a number. How much would it cost to help one family? Kyle, how much do we need to help one family?
Sure. The easiest things we can compare it, like the meals definitely go a long way. So we have a hard food cost in our shelter services, the family shelters, and we have recovery housing services. So those dining services, we have a hard food cost. And so for every $2.50, we can provide a meal. So you're around, 3 people round up or 4 people round up, and they're providing a meal for someone who's either living in a shelter or in a recovery housing, sort of transitional program. On the other end, like $100 could provide, sort of the service for staffing and operations for that person to have a place to sleep. So that's kind of your larger end of things.
Yeah, and same question for you, Aaron.
I would say it's a little bit harder in the catch situation to kind of document exactly how we can quantify those things. I would say for us right now, it's really those rising costs of construction. Those are extremely tangible, and unfortunately, there's nothing we can really do to rein that in. So we also have the food costs as well for things like our food pantry. So yeah, just every dollar really, really helps. I can say that.
Yeah, and I'll double down on that one. I'll double down on that. I think one of the things we find is we have like staff, right? So our operations, people want to see the direct impact, and our staff are those direct impact, right? They're there every day showing up. So not only are people helping provide jobs for people that work for us, but they're helping make sure that that is a consistent face for the people that are in and out of the buildings and in and out of the services. So, you know, that's something that we look to educate folks on, like that it's, you know, yes, some of it is going into our operations as well, but it's that staff is so vital. If we didn't have our staff, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Aaron nodding your head, same thing too. Yeah, didn't have your staff, couldn't get it done, right?
Yeah, I would also add, I mean, I'm sure it's the same for FIT. We've really had to change a lot of the way that we do a lot of things. For example, when the pandemic hit, you know, over a year ago, we had never done, that I know of, a video tour of an apartment. So even though we were all trying to figure out how to deal with COVID from a logistical perspective, we still had families who were desperate to move into new apartments, and they were willing to do whatever they could, and we were willing to do whatever we could to make sure they could move into a, you know, a safe, clean apartment and keep them going. So those dollars really help us be able to use technology and to be able to move families in, and it's a huge help.
You know, a lot of people forget the need is still there. You know, just because we're all hunkered down and staying at home, well, there are still people in need. And you know, you didn't stop working during the pandemic. Neither one of you, your teams didn't stop working, did you?
Right.
And I think the need is going to continue to rise as there's a, you know, an extreme shortage out there of rental units, and you are seeing considerable price increases so additional people are being displaced because their rents are being raised and they can't afford their rents, and there's nowhere else for them to go. There's such a shortage. So, you know, the units that you need to provide, that you want to provide, just because prices are up across the board for construction, and you can't say, well, let's just sit this one out and wait for prices to come down. You have to march forward. And you're doubly squeezed because I know your organizations do fundraising events, and you've had to put those on hold as well. I think, Aaron, the last public event that I went to was Catch's event, and ironically, it was something about masks, right? And everybody was wearing masquerade masks, and shortly thereafter, we all had to wear masks. So the timing of that was uncanny, but you know, it's do you have your events? Where are you at on fundraising events? Let's start with you, Aaron.
Yeah, so Nazzy was there too. It was Friday, March 13th. That was the last in-person fundraising event we were able to do, and I absolutely, in my heart of hearts, would love to create another event like that next spring. Hopefully, you know, we can all be together again then. But we've had, I think, 3 concerts so far. We've had to do lots of virtual programming. We're kind of able to harness the whole, we called it Home for the Holidays. One of my awesome volunteers came up with that. But we've really had to pivot. You know, everyone's been using that word.
Yes.
So we're trying to bring a little bit of joy to, you know, very difficult situations while still, you know, appreciating how we can be at home and enjoying the holidays in a very different kind of sense of the word.
Right. And same question for you, Kyle.
Yeah, events. So I started that week that Aaron's talking about. I started here at Families in Transition on that Monday, so my first Friday was the stay-at-home order. And so I haven't done any events in person here. We have all these events that we usually do, the Walk Against Hunger. We have a couple of other 5Ks that we did last year with the Wicked Fit Run in Concord, which is something that we're looking for ways to get the Concord community engaged. And that is actually one thing I forgot to mention before, is we do have a program in Concord that's kind of important to mention in the Concord Co-op community connection here. But we have 16 units in Concord, and another 16 that we work with in the broader community, so we can support there. But we did 4 virtual events last year. 3 of them were like walk run kind of things. Another was our breakfast, which we turned into kind of like a virtual broadcast, and we did a really awesome, basically a movie. We put together a movie last year and made it look like a live event. And but we
that's really cool. I don't mean to cut you off, Kyle. We're almost out of time here. Really quick, Kyle website, Aaron website, so we can find out more about FIT, more about Catch. Kyle?
Yeah, absolutely. Just fitnh.org is the right place to go.
And Aaron?
Sure, we're CATCH housing.org.
And finally, Greg, take it home. Give out the co-op's website.
ConcordFoodCoop.coop. Come on in this weekend, get all your barbecuing stuff, and round it up.
Thank you all very much.
And
We'll see you
keep
next
your
time.
fingers crossed for good weather, right?
Thank you all. Thank you, Aaron.
In the mood for real food. It's Concord Food Co-op.